It's 4:30 on Saturday on the East Coast here. Um, this is the weekly video where I try to recap the week that's just been passed and introduce the coming week. All right, I try to get these done on Friday. Didn't happen yesterday. I apologize. So here it comes. Let's see. Housekeeping first. The I looked at the request you made for the week you wanted to be the discussion forum leader, and so I've posted sort of a final schedule there in that forum based upon your expressed wishes. I think everybody got what they wanted, and I think one of you has not signed up yet. So take a look there. If you don't see your name, call so that we can get that straightened out. And also, if you're in the wrong week and I screwed up, just, call. Let me know. Okay? All right. So I think we're off to a great start. I did see Christine Crawfus yesterday for lunch, which is always a treat to see her. And I told her that she had done a great job teaching you guys how to be collegial and really collegial and constructive in your post. And she said something about making sure that you cite your citations properly when you're quoting. Frankly, I don't care so much about that, but I do love that some of you were quoting from the readings, and that's always a really good thing to do. Let's see, the different forms that we had. Let's see, yes, the first one had to do with the relative difficulty of working within the three sectors as a manager. And I really appreciated the dialogue that I had with some of you and the dialogue you had among yourselves. And I say that because you pushed back a little bit on the premise of the PowerPoint, and that's what discussions are all about. The more you discuss back and forth with thoughtful dialogue, the deeper we can understand one another, and we can all understand the content better. The second post had to do with the approximate liquidity target, and we're going to come back to this theme of the course, frankly, throughout. This notion that you really need to have a nest egg on the side, a financial nest egg, that is, so that your organization can weather the financial storm when it comes. Not if it comes, because it's coming, but when it comes, okay? And the implication then is that nonprofits have to run surpluses, they have to run profits, and they have to use those profits wisely. And that's something that is not always appreciated within the nonprofit world, where some might say all money has to go all the time to serving the client, direct services. But as someone nicely said, we don't, in our personal lives, run hand to mouth every day and spend every penny that we may earn. We ourselves have nest eggs because we're prudent, and that's the way nonprofits have to be as well. That then leads into that notion of discussion forum 3, where as an executive director of a nonprofit, you have many stakeholders who think they have a claim on your organization, and whose claims you have to really kind of keep in balance. And so the whole point of that discussion forum was really for you to think about the different stakeholders and how you might actually keep them in balance, and how you make financial decisions to keep their interest all in balance. Okay? Then the discussion question 4 had to do, right, with measuring the success of your organization. Clearly, just from a straight managerial perspective, if you're not measuring what you're doing, if you're not somehow Yeah, evaluating the performance of your organization. How can you tell whether you're doing good or not, right? And that then extends to uh, evaluating how well your financial decisions are actually contributing to the success of your organization. Uh, so you can't really evaluate your financial decisions, except if you go broke or not. But you really can't. But beyond that, you can't really evaluate the quality of your financial decisions if you can't also then relate those decisions back to the performance of your organization, and you can't evaluate the performance of your organization if you don't have some sort of measuring stick. And so, whether you're using any of those different tools that were listed, whether it's that three-dimensional box that I said I liked, or whether it's the balanced scorecard, which a lot of you liked and which I don't particularly like, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have an instrument that accurately is capturing the performance of your organization so that you can relate then your fiscal decisions and uh, their correctness, if that's the right word, uh, evaluate your financial decisions back to the performance of your organization. Okay. Let's see, and then five. There was one more. Oh, that was the open discussion, which you were fabulous on. I really, really appreciated the discussion of the Bowman article and the notion of slack. Um, you know, the approximate liquidity target is talking about slack and the appropriate amount of slack as it relates to finances. But Bowman extends that concept to kind of slack throughout the organization. And that doesn't mean that you have fat on the bones, right? But rather just a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of wiggle room so that you can not have to be crazy doing whatever it is you do all day long, every day, without time to reflect and without any capacity to actually try something different, right? It's like any of us, right? If we're flat out day after day after day, uh, there's no time for reflection, there's no time for uh, thinking about, we're working hard. God, we're working hard, but are we working smart? And it's slack that in your organization that allows you to step back and think about whether we're working smart, and also then gives you just that little bit of extra capacity to actually start to do things maybe a little differently, or to start that new pilot program, whatever it might be. Okay. Okay, so that was week one. You all were fabulous. I'll be grading your discussion forum participation, I don't know, the next couple of days. Um, I hope that that's all clarified now. I guess the last thing about week one is that I went through the discussion forums just now before making the video, and Professor Discretion, I saw that there were a couple of questions that I hadn't gotten to, so I've made some final posts. So if a couple of you had asked me a question and I didn't answer it, I hope the answer is there now because I hope I caught them all. Okay? Okay, and so week two, there's really three main things we want to do in week two. First is to introduce some basic accounting frameworks, the structure of accounting, and some basic terms. All right, because we can't really talk about finances if we don't share a common vocabulary. And so the book, what is it? Nonprofit Accounting Made Easy by Rupal. Definitely read the first two chapters really closely, and then the other chapters are there just sort of for you to peruse and for you to have as a reference to go back to when and if you need them at different points in your career. The second thing we want to do this week is to emphasize that in order to make good financial decisions, you have to have a good organizational structure and process for making those decisions. All right. If you, as the ED, or well, yeah, as the ED, are sitting in your office, right, and trying to come up with all the answers, you're gonna flop. It's just no good ski. Um, that's a very technical term. Um, the reason why you hire people in your organization is so that they can help you do uh, help you and your organization succeed. If you didn't need them to succeed, you wouldn't hire them. So since you've hired them and you've given them responsibilities and duties, make sure that you are fully utilizing their expertise and capacity. Okay? And so there's a chapter on that in Zeitlo this week. It's actually Zietlow. And we'll talk about that more during the course. The third thing is that just like the approximate liquidity target talks about, having enough cash on hand, part of that capacity then has to do with thinking about cash flows. And so your Tri-City assignment this week is really there to get us to start thinking about cash flows, and just both in a mechanical sense, in terms of running columns of numbers, revenues against expenses. It's also to make sure that you folks have some notion of how to use Excel. And lastly, this notion that numbers can actually tell you a story, because numbers are a tool to help you understand the financial position of your organization and its trends. So you need to not just be able to know that 2 plus 2 equals 4, mechanically, that is, how your budget and finances work, but rather the story that the numbers are telling you, right? Okay, so that notion of the story that the numbers tell is also another theme that we'll be talking about during the course of the course. Okay, I think that's all I was supposed to do here on my notes. Okay, it's 13 minutes almost, so I'll let you go. Thanks. Remember, if you ever have a question, just call 413-237-7475. That's my cell phone. And I'll see you online, and away we go. All right, thanks.